Let's get Eurified.
Well, we're all going to hell anyway. So after finishing a really long shower, I thought I'd give my 2 cents on the first episode of the Yuri anime, Gushing over Magical Girls. Because there's absolutely no way that would be controversial, right? Anyway, let's start things off with a quick recap. Iragi Utena, 14-year-old middle schooler, loves magical girls. Weird-looking mascot character named Venolita turns her into scantily clad bad guy. Magical girls attack. Utena fights back, spanks them silly. Utena is blackmailed by Venolita, fights magical girls again, tickles them silly. Something awakens inside Utena. To be continued. So right off the bat, I was pleasantly surprised by how faithful the episode was to essentially the first 2 chapters of the manga. I thought it would just barrel through some of the events and be non-stop nonsense. But nope, it was nicely paced and gave a decent amount of screen time to all our wacky players. The only new thing they added was that totally blatant classroom stripping scene. As if the showrunners were telling you, "Yup, we know what you're into, you pervert. I prefer to be called a savant of sensuality, thank you." Anyway, it looks like we got quite an eyeful of these young ladies, and what the fuck? Pop Team Epic? What the Harry Moses are they doing here? So I very quickly tried looking up what the connection was. Like maybe they had the same director or something. But I couldn't really find anything. I mean, they're both balls to the walls crazy anime, I suppose. But other than that, I'm kinda left scratching my head here. So moving on, I wanted to mention the opening theme song real quick. To be honest, I was expecting them to go with a more bombastic, high-octane OP. Something that will really get you fired up for all the utter insanity you're about to witness. I mean, the song itself is fine. Definitely more peppy and lighthearted than I expected. But still pretty good. And speaking of the opening theme, after watching the episode, I made the most shocking discovery of my weeaboo life. So for those who don't know, the opening song is sung by a relatively new voice acting unit called Nacheri. And my mind was f***ing blown when I found out who the members were. The unit consists of Murakami Natsumi and Tanaka Chiami, who are best known as the voices of Love Live Nijigasaki's very own Miyashita Ai and Tenochi Rina, respectively. And as a massive Love Live fan, I must appropriately hang my head down in utter shame for not immediately recognizing their voices. And also, as a big Rina Ai shipper, I must praise the Yuri goddess for making me aware of this fantastic revelation. And just to add to the Love Live party train even more, in case you weren't aware, Haruka, one of the magical girls, is also voiced by Maeda Kaori, who of course voices the adorable Osaka Shizuku, again from Nijigasaki. I already knew that going into this anime, but it's still kinda crazy. So yeah, it looks like they wanted to give Yuri fans a big fat serving of Love Live Sunday. You know what they say, not all Love Live fans are Yuri fans, but all Yuri fans are Love Live fans. Anyway, on the topic of music, I also wanted to mention that the music during the magical transformation scenes were kinda underwhelming. Yeah, I know that's a very minor point, but when you think about magical girl transformations, you think of totally epic, over-the-top transformation scenes that go on for way too long, accompanied by thrilling cinematic music. I mean, that's how they get you to pump your fist and go, "Fuck yeah, it's time to watch some pubescent girls kick some bad guy booty." The music they played was very simplistic, not a whole lot of moving pieces there. And of course, the transformations themselves are very cookie cutter. Basically, they used a lot of flat shots. And now we finally come to the big fat elephant in the room. So for those who don't know, this anime is receiving 3 different versions. A TV broadcast version, which will be heavily censored, a streaming version, which will be uncensored, but with some audio censorship, and finally a Blu-ray and DVD version, which will be a totally unfiltered, no-holds-barred, anti-Weenie Hut Jr. viewing experience. Now, obviously, most people are currently watching the streaming version that's exclusive to High Dive, unless you're a naughty person who likes to watch anime from, shall we say, alternative sources. But it's clear now that most versions of the anime will pretty much offer full frontal nudity. And honestly, that was a bit of a surprise to me. I'm sure most people were taken aback by the fact that the streaming version had tits and ass right out of the gate. Because for one, what the hell could they possibly change for the Blu-ray version? It already has everything on full display. Are they gonna have closer angles or something? And 2, this is more of a personal expectation. I really thought the streaming version would be extremely lewd, but not show any of the delicate bits. Basically in the same way as the manga. I explained this in my last Let's Talk Yuri video, but basically, I thought this would have been a more faithful course of action for the anime, but most importantly, a more moral course of action too. I mentioned in the intro that the characters are 14-year-old middle schoolers, and oddly enough, the anime doesn't disclose that information. I don't know if that's intentional, like maybe they're keeping it vague about how old they are, or maybe they'll let us know in a later episode. Regardless, as someone who's read the manga, I definitely have to be blunt about certain truths here. And at this point, you're probably thinking to yourself, "Hold on a second, Gareth, you read a manga about 14-year-old girls getting whipped and spanked, and yet you get uncomfortable about seeing nipples? How does that track?" Of course, that's a very valid point. But that just so happens to be where my comfort level reaches. Call me a degenerate hypocrite all you want, but I ain't gonna lie to you, and I ain't gonna lie to myself. So, am I still gonna keep watching? Yep, I'm still a big fan of the series, but I won't hesitate to voice any opinions or concerns that I have. I mean, the manga itself is still ridiculous fun, and that fun is punctuated by the fact that you're reading a series that you can't believe actually exists. Like, everything in it is so absurd that it makes your brain do a double take, and it's f***ing hilarious. So in closing, I just want to say that it's up to you to decide whether or not gushing over magical girls is up your alley. In the understatement of the century, it's no surprise that a BDSM Yuri anime is probably not suited for everyone. And even if you're a hardcore Yuri fan, you still might question this very questionable piece of smut entertainment. I'm certainly not gonna go to battle to defend its honor or anything, but I also won't deny the things that make me happy and laugh, like Yuri in outrageously bonkers situations. So yeah, I'll be covering this anime as it continues to fall deeper into ridiculousness. And I'll also be covering other Yuri anime airing this season. So make sure to subscribe if you give a crap of what I have to say. Oh yeah, and in the very unlikely possibility that anyone from Japan is watching this video, can you please let me know what the TV broadcast of this anime is like? Are they using light beam sensors of doom or black bar sensors of doom? I'm genuinely curious. Anyway, see you around.